Welcome to the first episode of Voices That Matter with Enlinature. I am Teenat Ghina, the president of Enlinature. Arshak, you have been involved in activism for quite a long time. Considering the fact that Russia has really strict policies for public protest, you are still seen standing in the front line week after week, every Friday without delay. And now climate change has become a global issue. Young people, they want to involve themselves into activism. But in today's age, which is quite digital, it is kind of hard to tell the difference between performative activism and actual activism. What do you think that today activism often trend online, but does trending mean transformation? And how do you feel about the rise of performative climate activism on social media?
Uh, Russia has changed a lot since 2019 when we started to like our climate strikes, and I had to flee from Russia actually after 2022 when they started full-scale invasion. And now activism, like protesting on the streets, is something that is almost like impossible in Russia.
Mhm.
And the situation has changed a lot, but like yeah, there is a lot of difference, yeah, between authoritarian regime and dictatorship, and that's like completely different
Mhm.
topic. But and now kind of I live in another country where people have more freedom in Germany, but also I'm trying to continue my activism on like the topic that I was engaged with. And it's not really easy, especially when you live in a different country. And sometimes doing online activism is the only option, I think, for many people.
Mhm.
And I don't think doing activism online make it performative. Like obviously, like not everyone can afford being on the street. Like I think
Mhm.
being on the street
Yeah.
is something that is kind of also already kind of a privilege, especially
Mhm.
if you are a marginalized group and like your life literally can be threatened if you even speak out online. A lot of people are being arrested these days in Russia for just putting something on stories. So I
Mhm.
think like online activism is a really important part of activism in today's reality. Unfortunately, it would be better for us to be on the streets or in politics, but the reality is what it is, and I think we should use every kind of instrument that we have at hand. And I'm trying to
Mhm.
do that. And then, like when you do any kind of activism, I think consistency is the most important thing. So, I for me, performative activism is when a person speaks out for climate and then does not support like the other causes that are very much
Mhm.
connected
Mhm.
the climate crisis. And I think what the Fridays for Future movement was doing in the last years, basically connecting climate crisis and colonial history, is the most important thing that we have done as a movement. Like obviously there is less of support in the world to that, but I think activism is activism when it's kind of challenging the society, and we are
Mhm.
speaking out the truth. We are not trying to tell people what they want to hear, or what they are used to hear, but we are trying to challenge this kind of worldview that kind of is the reason of the climate crisis.
So, most of the activism in today's world it's happening on social media. Do you think if you weigh out all the pros and the cons, is it helping the activism or is it not helping the activism?
It depends. I think like we are living in a times when everything like the evil of the world is kind of very obvious, like this Western capitalism, Western colonialism, but also Eastern colonialisms and
Mhm.
dictatorships, and so like the world is kind of more transparent than it has been before, and then there is a lot of propaganda against it, and then also like we see how biased most of the media. That's like for myself, I am doing more stuff on social media because I feel like when we were talking about, like, I was talking about climate crisis in Russia and like the
Mm-hmm.
lack of climate action from like the Russian government or regime. Like there was a lot of interest from the media, so it was really easy for me to make my voice heard. And when I am starting to speak out on other issues that are very much connected to the climate crisis, it's not like the same situation. A lot of media starting to kind of ignore you, and they do not want to kind of make your voices heard and your perspectives heard. So like I don't think that using social media is a solution to everything, but it is
Mm-hmm.
an instrument that we also can use.
Yeah, you did talk about propaganda, and I feel like that when there is a lot of propaganda and biasness, you cannot actually tell the difference between actual activism and activism for attention. So, how do you think that the young activists who are just getting involved into activism, their voices are heard and they are not just some other noises?
I think it's really important for people who already have some kind of platforms to support other activists. Because when we
Mhm.
started doing activism in 2019, and there was a lot of attention to climate crisis and many other issues, and now we are living in a world with a completely different political climate, with many genocides unfolding all around the world, with many wars. Like activism for me is kind of a something that like I'm learning and learning more and trying to understand what is happening in the world, and I'm trying to educate myself first of all and to understand the system that we are fighting against better. Because I think when we criticize, it's really important to have this kind of constructive criticism. How we were doing activism in 2019, it doesn't work anymore, and I'm trying to find kind of new ways to do that.
That was all the questions that I had for today's interview, Arshak. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the youth who wants to involve themselves into activism?
I think like the young people, they know better how to engage activism. It's really important to believe in yourself, and it doesn't really matter how old are you. Like parents will be kind of usually they are against activism, whether you are 20 years old, whether you are 25 years old, or whether you're 15. And obviously, like when you are growing up, you have to make some sacrifices, and like you have to become part of the system that we live in. But I think younger generations, they have the power, and like in 2019 we proved it. We've changed basically the whole environmental politics all around the world almost. And then there was this backlash, but still I think we have to believe in activism. We have to believe that we can change things, and then we should look for the ways to make like this change possible. And the most important part in this is being brave and trusting yourself, your guts, and doing whatever you think is right. And sometimes it's dangerous, scary, uncomfortable, for yourself, for people around you, for your families, for your friends. You can lose friends. I have lost a lot of my friends since I started doing activism many times. So activism is not going to make your life more comfortable, but it will help you to learn how to be a better human being and to like respect yourself.
Thank you so much, Harshak, for joining us.
Yeah, thank
And
you. It was really nice to talk with you.